Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk coming at you on a Thursday. Hi, hello, and how are you? Hope you're enjoying your Thursday afternoon, and thanks for spending part of it with us here on 580 Sports Talk over the next 3 hours. Plus, we'll have a little overtime tonight before Thursday Night Football. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuis, the gang's all here on this lovely day in the capital city on 580 WIBW FM 104.9. Online at 580WIBW.com, and of course, on our video stream where you got to see Brendan give you blue steel there for just a moment. Yeah, there he goes. That one's just for the viewers. That's on our YouTube live stream. Again, our YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. You can also catch us on Facebook as well. The Facebook page is WIBW News.
If I could wink over the radio, I would.
Yeah, we haven't figured out how to convey that gesture.
Can't really do that into a microphone.
In words.
I could just plow my head into it and you would know what I was doing.
Bonk the microphone. Yeah, anytime he bonks the microphone, that's...
would not be the first time.
No, that's, that is for some creatures a sign of affection to just bonk your head on something.
Yeah.
My cats do it a lot. Also, my son. My 4-month-old has taken to just rubbing his face directly into my face sometimes when I hold him. So...
Yeah, so for a little while when my wife and I first moved in together and I would headbutt her in our sleep, I tried to say it's just because I love you. That didn't work.
No, that sounds like there's a difference between like the head rub and the head butt. One of them does a little bit more damage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, just I don't blame your wife for not buying it. Let me just...
I wouldn't either, frankly.
Just say that. We got a great big show today. 3 hours, lots of great guests, and we have plenty to discuss. A stat about Patrick Mahomes that blew my mind and made me a little upset. And I might raise my voice when I get to talking about this.
I'm very, very excited about this.
I don't know why seeing this stat, seeing it in print yesterday, snapped something in my brain the way it did. But I have some thoughts on Patrick Mahomes, and I have some thoughts on the Chiefs offense. And I might raise my voice a little bit. I'm not going to swear. I know better. I've been doing this long enough. The FCC is not going to come after me. But I do have some thoughts. I have some things I need to get off my chest about the Chiefs offense. Speaking of the Chiefs offense, Bill Barnwell of ESPN thinks the Chiefs ought to trade for a running back. Which one? We'll tell you a little bit, talk about how realistic that thought might be for the Chiefs. Also, we'll talk Chiefs with the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. He'll join us in the 5 o'clock hours. He does every Thursday, and we'll get Mitch's thoughts on the bye week and the upcoming trip to Santa Clara to take on the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday. You'll hear Mitch's broadcast from the Chiefs Radio Network right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. 2 o'clock pregame, a 3:25 p.m. kickoff on Sunday afternoon.
We've got people cheering for you to swear, by the way.
Oh, they're cheering for me to swear. You want me to lose my job, man?
Yeah, Clayton on YouTube says, "Oh, come on, Dan, let's spice things up and get the FCC involved." I will tell you this. I don't want to get the FCC involved.
Because they fine you.
Yeah.
And the fines that they levy, they've got commas in them.
Yeah. Fun fact about the FCC, they can fine you whatever they want.
Yeah.
Like, if I could accidentally let slip a curse word, and if they decide $3 million, they are legally allowed to fine you that. And I know everybody thinks that we rake in the dough here. I don't quite have 7 figures on hand.
No, that is
not quite.
No, I think if I did, I'd be wearing nicer shoes.
If I did, I'd be buying this radio station.
Yeah, I'd be wearing nicer shoes at a minimum. So no, not going to swear, but I am going to get in my feelings a little bit. So we'll talk plenty of Chiefs. We'll also talk some college football today. We have looked back at the first half of the Big 12 football season. Now we're going to look ahead. How does the rest of the season shake out? Who are the favorites? Who has a realistic chance, let me put it that way, to get to the Big 12 championship game? Can K-State run the table and get to 11-1 and get to Arlington? And how much pride does KU play with if a bowl game comes off the table? That's an uncomfortable question, but we will talk about that a little bit.
I think you just made me shiver.
Yeah, it's a question that demands an answer. And we will discuss that later on in the show. We'll also have our Big 12 football breakdown this week. The great Paul Myerberg joins us at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. Paul Myerberg of USA Today hanging out with us and talking college football as he does every Thursday. We'll also talk local sports with the man who knows it better than anyone else, Rick Peterson of TopSports.News, our Lewis Toyota local sports spotlight coming your way at the bottom of the 3 o'clock hour. Plus, all the things you've come to know and love from a Thursday edition of the program. We got 2 new stories on what is wrong with you. Sports headlines, top of the 5 o'clock hour. We'll do a little either or over under. It's a jam-packed show today.
I saw Pistol yesterday at Washburn football media availability, and we were just chatting about what his week looks like. Told me that he's got a triangular for volleyball tonight. Seaman and Rural both in the building.
Wow.
Yeah.
Seaman just beat the number 1 team in Class 6A.
Yeah.
I think it was either earlier this week or late last week. But yeah, they beat the number 1 team in 6A. They are...
That's like the high school volleyball version of the Champions Classic right there.
It is a non-zero chance that the 6A, 5A, and 4A volleyball championships could all come to Topeka. Because Hayden, I believe, is number 1 in 4A.
I won't shut
have
up
been
about
number
it.
1 in 4A.
I will not stop talking about that.
If Topeka ends up being the capital of volleyball, yeah, I think...
as if it's not already.
I think, yeah, we have something to say about it. So we'll talk a little volleyball and, of course, plenty of high school football, some Washburn football, and more with Rick Peterson on the Lewis Toyota Local Sports Spotlight. You are, as always, invited and encouraged to be a part of 580 Sports Talk. You can do that by texting the program. The Top City Metal Supply text line is 785-272-9429. Or you can join us on the live chat if you are watching live on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk, again, is the YouTube channel. You can watch us live. You can watch us archived. Except for yesterday. We got copyright stricken yesterday.
Really?
I think Pitbull finally got tired of us using Pitbull.
Wow.
Don't Stop the Party. We got banged by SME. So you cannot watch yesterday's show right now if you live in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
So I don't know what to do about that. We'll put our heads together. We'll try and figure out what we have to do to compromise to make sure that we get yesterday's version of the show back up on our video.
Yeah.
But if not, you can listen to yesterday's show on our podcast page at 580wibw.com or on Spotify if you follow us on Spotify.
Good news, it is not doesn't count as a strike against our channel. So we're not, you get 3 strikes and they don't let you be on YouTube anymore, which we are desperately trying to avoid.
Yeah, we don't
good.
We don't want that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Misunderstanding. Like let us delete the audio out of that 20-second chunk and keep it moving. Like we've been fairly law abiding over there.
Maybe I just made a mistake playing it too early in the show.
Could have been.
We didn't give enough runway for it.
Yeah, it was so unexpected yesterday. Hey, Pitbull's like, look, I get it when you play it after a Chiefs win or a Royals win or whatever it is, but man, just random Pitbull, that will not stand.
Oh, okay. I'm doing some digging here. We can go in. We can just have the song removed. So wherever the Pitbull played at the start of the show, we can just have them mute that 20-second spot. We can also replace it with a different song.
No, that's really funny. Yes, do that.
All right, we're
yes, do that. Do that 20 seconds.
All right, we're getting in the lab here, folks.
Yeah, just replace it with elevator music or Muzak, something like that.
All right, we're gonna get to work on this.
That will be extremely funny. Okay. Anyway, we'll get the archive back up when we're able to do so. But we appreciate you joining us, however you're joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. We'd like to reward one of you with a trip to Europe. I can't guarantee it's going to be one of you, but we are giving away the ultimate European vacation, 10-day trip through Europe, London, Venice, Paris, and more. All you got to do to enter is go to 580wibw.com. There's a link on the top left of the page, and you enter in the keyword every hour, and that gives you a chance to win. This hour's keyword, shop, S-H-O-P, shop, shop. That is your keyword for the 3 o'clock hour today for the ultimate European vacation over at 580wibw.com. All right, let's get to business. Let's get to this Patrick Mahomes stat.
I'm so ready for this.
I saw this yesterday from Robert Mays, covers the National Football League for The Athletic, and I could not believe this. First of all, the quarterback matchup, we've seen this one before, right? Going into Sunday, we've seen Patrick Mahomes and we've seen Brock Purdy play against each other. We know how that went in the Super Bowl last year. We also, I believe, no, that was still Garoppolo. when they played in the regular season.
The year prior?
Yeah,
that would have been Jimmy G.
That was still Jimmy G. So this will be the second Purdy-Mahomes matchup. And Brock Purdy's having a good season thus far. In fact, he leads the league in air yards per completion this season, which is essentially on all your completions, it is the average of how far the ball is traveling down the field on your completions. So it doesn't matter if you complete a pass and it, like Deebo Samuel catches it at the line of scrimmage and takes it 70 yards. If he caught the line of scrimmage, your air yards per completion on the pass is 0.0, or maybe even negative yards if you're throwing it behind the line of scrimmage. But your air yards per completion, how far on average you are throwing the ball down the field to your wide receivers. Brock Purdy this year is averaging 9.1 air yards per completion. That would be the best mark in the next-gen stats era since they started being able to keep these numbers. Since 2016, nobody has had a higher air yards per completion in a season than Brock Purdy has through 6 games of 2024. It's impressive.
It's very impressive.
It's impressive.
He's real quick. Credit to you. You had him top 5 to start the year. I said I don't know. I might just be the pieces around him. No, he's made me feel wrong. Absolutely, and you were spot on about that.
I'm trying to hate a little less. I'm trying to be less of a hater as I get older. It's
being a good example for your son. I like that.
It's only occasionally working if we're being really honest about it, but the effort is there. And one of the things I'm trying to be less of a hater about is Brock Purdy. Just because he made some hilarious turnovers at Iowa State doesn't mean he can't be a good NFL quarterback.
And they
he
were
has settled
hilarious.
into being a very good NFL quarterback. Highest air yards per completion in the league, Patrick Mahomes, or rather Brock Purdy. Patrick Mahomes has the lowest air yards per completion this season. 3.6 air yards per completion. That means when you look at every pass that Patrick Mahomes has completed this year, they have traveled an average of 3.6 yards down the field. Not only is that dead last in 2024, that would be the worst mark in the next-gen stats era since 2016. No one has averaged fewer air yards per completion than Patrick Mahomes this year. And I saw that stat and it broke my brain because I have been trying to quantify why it feels less fun to watch the Chiefs this year than it has ever felt in the Mahomes era. And I include the stretches of play that weren't real pleasant for the Chiefs, like Mahomes' 4 or 5 game slump he went through in 2021. Some of the issues the offense had with drops last season weren't real fun to watch. But while this offense has been efficient, and we have spoken about this, and the numbers have continued to trend in that direction, that the Chiefs are efficient. They have a high success rate. They drive the ball successfully. They have run the ball very well this year, and they're 5-0. So champagne problems. Any problem the Chiefs have right now is a champagne problem. But man, I don't care how good Patrick Mahomes is at playing point guard in this offense. He's the best quarterback in the league. Any offense you put him in charge of, he's going to be the best at. And I don't care how much of this is about taking what the defense gives you. And I don't care how bad the offensive tackles are. I actually don't think they're that bad. They certainly aren't above average. But I don't think Wanye Morris and Jawan Taylor are sieves.
Well, they're good enough to win.
I don't care how bad the receiving core is right now with the loss of Hollywood Brown and the loss of Rashee Rice. I don't care how old Travis Kelce is getting. Watching Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the league, the best I've ever seen, watching him throw checkdowns sucks. It's an affront to football.
It does
suck. I hate it. And I'm tired of talking about why the Chiefs offense can't be something. Because we've talked about it. Yeah, this offense isn't really explosive. But here are the reasons why. It's not explosive because, Mahomes doesn't trust his tackles or something like that. Or, Kelce's 35 and he's lost wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2. I'm tired of talking about why the Chiefs can't be explosive. Let's talk about why it should be more than this. How about we start with reason number 1? You have Patrick Mahomes. Open it up and let it rip. I'm begging Andy Reid. I'm begging Matt Nagy.
I think what you said right there is exactly how I feel about this. That's not a Patrick Mahomes stat. That's an Andy Reid stat. Throw the ball. Throw the ball down the field. And now I think it is only fair to say Patrick Mahomes, it feels like he is like, wow, Patrick Mahomes is a hot new thing. Patrick Mahomes has been in the NFL for a long time at this point.
And we know what we have plenty of evidence that Patrick Mahomes is no BS all-time great at this.
He is, absolutely. And I think it is also important for me to acknowledge, while I'm about to criticize Reid and a little bit Nagy too, but mostly Andy Reid, that Mahomes has been in the league and has been starting and has had enough success, all that for long enough, that he probably has a say in some of the game plan as well. All the greats get some amount of that. Go ask the Jets who's designing their game plan right now. Is it Todd Downing and Nate Hackett, or is it the guy who's going to go to the Hall of Fame on the first ballot, Aaron Rodgers? Manning was like this. Brady was like this. All the greats get that ability and get that sort of thing after a while. Okay, so totally fair. Why have we gotten to a point where you are this risk averse? Because it is true that possession of the football is the most important thing. Like, that's the most important asset you have. I mentioned this on the show a while back, but I heard it on a podcast, and it's totally true. The football analytical people are starting to come around to the most important thing is having possession. That's why going for it on fourth down is more in vogue now.
9/10 of the law, right?
Yes, it's holding on, it's having possession, it's not giving your opponents the chance to score. Just like in baseball, Moneyball, right? Wait, it's not batting average, it's on base percentage. Who cares how you get on? You're just trying to get on. And then we have weighted on base to take that even farther. So the NFL has started to come around on that. So I can understand not wanting to give away possessions. But I'm going to give you right now, and I don't have the true media number or the next gen stats numbers in front of me, but I do have the numbers from Sports Info Solutions and Pro Football Reference. Here are the bottom let's make it bottom 6 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Completed air yards per completion by their metric. They're slightly different than next gen stats. The bottom 6 in the NFL in order. 26. There's 31 quarterbacks listed. Bo Nix, 26. Will Levis, 27. Jacoby Brissett, benched, 28. Baker Mayfield, interesting, 29. Their whole offense is yak. Their whole offense is bomb to Mike Evans or check down. That's their whole offense. Number 30, Deshaun Watson. Number 31, Patrick Mahomes. That's broken. That is so wrong. That is an affront to everything that is good about the sport of football.
Those are offenses that are afraid of their quarterbacks. Like, you watch the Denver Broncos offense. They're terrified of Bo Nix throwing the ball down the field.
Brian Callahan might kill Will Levis by the time the year is over.
Right.
He might actually murder him.
Right. Why is Andy Reid, why is Matt Nagy afraid of two-time MVP Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball down the field?
I don't know. I don't have an explanation for it. Unless you're trying to give me they're holding on to things for the playoffs. Dude, I think that's crap, to be completely honest. Just to be blunt, I think that's crap. Just run your stuff, man. This is the NFL. Like, everybody's good. Every single player in the league was one of the 5 best players on their college team. Most of them are the greatest player to ever come out of their hometown. Anyone who's been in the league for more than 3 years is, by comparison's sake, an all-time great.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everybody is good. Everybody's got people who are paid full-time, big money to scout and watch tape and cheat and do all sorts of stuff. Like, just play your game. So don't give me they're holding on to stuff for February. Shut up.
And this is not to suggest that every play has to be like a bomb to Xavier Worthy, though. They should probably be scheming up a lot more of those plays than they have been, because Xavier Worthy Seth Kaiser did a whole deep dive on the tape on this, friend of the program, Chief of the North newsletter. Xavier Worthy's getting open a lot down the field and has not having any problem getting open. And maybe the Chiefs need to try to push it into his hands a little bit more. But I understand that this is safe. It's risk averse, as a texter of the Top City Metal Supply text line puts it. The Chiefs defense is really good. They can afford to be less risk averse on offense. They're running the ball real well. All of those things are true. That being said, having a generational talent at quarterback, maybe the greatest ever, and this being your offense through 5 weeks is gross.
Yeah, but 5
It
weeks,
sucks.
they're 5-0.
Right, like these are champagne problems. I've acknowledged that, but still, it's gross. It's not pleasant. And if every week you're playing games against teams, you've got a bunch more talent then, and you're winning them by 1 score, I don't know. Step on the gas. Try the accelerator. Get out of the slow lane with this guy.
And I can understand if someone's response is, well, who cares if it's fun? It works. And
Right.
yes, to a degree, yes.
Yes.
But also, this is a spectator sport. I think I'm speaking for both of you as well. Like, I care about this as a fan of football more than I care about anything else. Like, I want to watch something that is entertaining. That's why we got into what we do now, because we love the sports and the action and all of that stuff. I would like to not be like, I did not, maybe this is the best way to put it from my perspective. I did not miss the Chiefs at all this weekend. This past Sunday, did not miss them one day.
I have enjoyed watching the Chiefs less the start to this season. Certainly, like, it has been a less enjoyable experience watching them this year than it has been in previous years.
Last season,
even though they're winning, and like at the end of the day, like, you're a fan, that's what you're looking for out of this, right? Like, the juice is worth the squeeze, no matter how painful that squeeze might be. But from a strictly entertainment standpoint, like, yeah, this isn't real fun.
The playoff run last year was good football. The Baltimore game was low scoring, but that was good football by the Chiefs. That was a fun playoff run. It felt like you were restoring the feeling a little bit with that team. Here is my problem. You say, well, they turned it on at the last moment last year and they won the Super Bowl. Yes, they did. I understand all of that. You want to take that risk again? Is that something we're talking about being risk averse, right? You want to take that risk again and say, yeah, we're just going to turn it on at the end of the year? Because one thing we talked about during the offseason is the fact that the Chiefs got massive injury luck each of the last 2 years. They were, yes, if I remember correctly, in adjusted games lost, which is a metric. There's a website out there that tracks every lost game by starters, by bench players, IR stints, etc., and tracks how many adjusted games did each team lose to injury. Normally, for most teams, you fluctuate. If you're slightly above average one year, you're slightly below the next year. If you're all the way at the bottom, we lost so much time by our key players a year ago, the next year it shoots back up near the top. The Chiefs, top 6 in best injury luck in the league 2 years running. We've already seen that flip because the team's top 2 wide receivers are out for the year. Like,
and their number 1 running back is out for the foreseeable
indefinitely,
future still.
Right. Like, are you willing to continue to take which risks would you rather take? The big picture risk that you aren't going to be ready to put the pedal to the metal in late January, or you might lose 1 possession in week 7. Which risk would you rather take?
And, like, because you have such a great defense, you can afford, I think, to be I understand the thought process on the one hand of it makes you afford to be more risk averse, but it also should afford you the opportunity to take more risks because of who you've got at quarterback. I really, like, Brock Purdy's averaging 9.1 air yards per completion, and it's not like he's got a Tyreek Hill like that opens everything up down the field, right? No, we're not talking about needing to throw the ball 30 yards over everybody's head every play, but get guys downfield and let them make things happen down the field. Let Mahomes make those things happen. Oh, well, the tackles aren't playing very well. Help them out. Chip a running back, chip a tight end. Well, they don't like to do that. Maybe they should try it. Maybe they should try it, because if they do it, Patrick Mahomes, if it's a 2 or a 3-man route, trust that he can find the guy and make the throw. Like, make life easier for him and reap the rewards, because the person you're making life easier on is the best at this.
I just want them to be fun to watch again, man.
I miss 2018, 2019, 2020 Chiefs football so much.
I miss the 2022 team.
Yeah.
Even I mean, he still wasn't bombing it as much, but that team moved. You thought, ooh, this is going to be fun. They're not fun.
I would be interested to see, if you go back and look at the numbers, did Brady ever have a year like this? Where he
certainly not at the end of his career, because those Tampa teams were all just bombing all game.
Yeah.
But I'm just like wondering, like,
that's a good question.
The only reason I'm wondering is because I'm still watching that Aaron Hernandez doc.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doc show. So it reminded me of Tom Brady.
Sure. No, I mean, Mahomes will always be compared to him forever. at this
Exactly.
point. Like they are connected for eternity. So no, I totally get where you're coming from.
Yeah, I don't see air yards. I see adjusted yards, but I don't see air yards per attempt.
No, that's a largely newly kept stat.
Well, it is. We don't have it going all the way back past 2013. So air yards per pass attempt. Brady's last year was actually, it says here, this is completed passes. So completed air yards per completion, 4.9 his final year in Tampa Bay.
Any stat that you're ranked behind Deshaun Watson in is a bad one, unless, of course, it's number of alleged assaults committed. Then you want to have a much smaller number. Football-wise, though, bad.
Yeah, completed air yards for Mahomes, it was 4.1 last year, so it's been trending in the wrong direction. But, yeah, he lived in the sixes his first 3 seasons as a starter. It was 5.5 in 2022. Now it's down in the threes. And, look, I'm not saying you have to reinvent the wheel. The Chiefs obviously have good things going right now. I'm not saying don't run the ball and call the bomb from NFL blitz every down. I just want to see a little bit more creativity, a little bit more risk taking with this passing game, even with the receivers you have on hand, even without wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2. I just have the faith that 15 can make it work, because I think he can. And then if he starts hitting on more of that stuff, then what do you do? Because those are the plays that defenses haven't really had to worry about. And they're going to start coming up further and up further and up further and compressing the field more. I think it's a big part of the reason why the Chiefs have struggled in the red zone, compressing the field. We'll take a break here. We're going to come back. Bill Barnwell suggested earlier today the Chiefs make 2 trades for 2 skill players. One of them we've talked about a lot. The other we had not brought up before. We'll get to it next as we're just getting started on this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Coming up in just a few minutes, our Lewis Toyota local sports spotlight will be joined by Rick Peterson of TopSports.News. Maybe not great for the Chiefs need to air it out more agenda. Juju Smith-Schuster limited at practice today with a hamstring injury. He's wide receiver 3 at this point, right? And if he's limited, he can't go Sunday. Sky Moore has become important at work again.
No, Gray.
Yeah. 3 tight ends.
Yes. All game.
Give me some more Jody Fortson touches.
Yeah, 4th season.
Bill Barnwell of ESPN.com. We cite his work a lot around here. He's an outstanding NFL writer for ESPN.com. Today put out a list of a dozen trades he feels like contenders ought to make across the NFL and made 2 suggestions for the Chiefs. One of them is a suggestion we've been harping on for a while now. DeAndre Hopkins to the Chiefs for a 5th-round pick. If that's all it costs, do it yesterday. Honestly, if that would be all it would cost the Chiefs, a 2025 5th, go do it.
Yes.
Don't even think twice.
Correct. Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
But Barnwell also suggested the Chiefs add a running back. This was his proposal, that the Chiefs send a conditional 2025 6th-round pick to the Panthers for a conditional 7th-round pick and running back Miles Sanders. Here's what Barnwell had to say. Sanders was one of many players whose stock dropped after the 2023 season in Carolina. Probably would have been cut this spring if it weren't for the finances involved. $2.7 million of that money is left on his deal, guaranteed, but Sanders does not really have a spot on their roster. If Carolina was able to eat most of that cash, it could find a few takers. He averaged 5 yards a carry during his time with the Eagles and has shown an ability to catch the ball when he hasn't been paired with Jalen Hurts. The Chiefs would qualify as a fit. They've cycled through backs to replace injured Isaiah Pacheco. Carson Steele couldn't keep hold of the ball. Samaje Perine has never been a regular back. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has only just been activated. Kareem Hunt went from being out of football to carrying the ball 27 times against the Saints, an arrangement that seems both unsustainable and ill-advised. End of quote.
No. They don't call him Inches Sanders for nothing.
That's a very mean nickname.
It is.
5 yards to carry with the Eagles?
Yeah, behind... And I'm going to say this, and you could say, well, doesn't that describe the Chiefs too? He was behind the best offensive line of a generation. And yes, the Chiefs' offensive line is good, but I don't think this is a team that needs to move any sort of asset for a running back at this point.
As a rookie, he had 50 catches, and he had 860 rushing yards. That was 2019. He's 27.
Yeah.
Is he better? Is he better than Clyde?
Yeah.
Then you got to think about it, don't you?
No, because the guys like Clyde.
This is true.
Clyde brings vibes. And I don't think he's a very good football player, to be honest with you, although I don't know that Sanders is either. But, like, it's the devil you know versus the one you don't, right? Like, you know Clyde is going to get you 3.1 yards a carry or whatever it is, but the guys like him. He's been a key part of the team. He's a good locker room guy.
I think there's a decent chance Clyde's inactive pretty often.
I mean, look, they literally kept a 53-man roster spot open for 5-6 weeks for Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
That's a fair point.
That is a very good point.
They didn't even bring somebody up on the practice squad, keep him 53, then put him back, then cut him and bring him back to the
Great point.
squad.
Great point.
We're going to take a break here. We'll come back with our Lewis Toyota local sports spotlight with Rick Peterson of TopSports.News. That's what I meant to say. Pistol joins us next on 580 Sports Talk.
Average Peterson. Their eyes, full hearts, and lose. And that makes the citizens of the world.
We are pleased to be joined, as we are every Thursday at this time, by the great Rick Peterson for TopSports.News, covering all things high school sports in Shawnee County, as well as Washburn University athletics. We call it the Lewis Toyota Local Sports Spotlight. And Pistol, let's turn the spotlight on some volleyball. The Seaman Lady Vikes, defending 5A state champs, just took down number 1 in Class 6A, and they've got another big triangular coming up this weekend, I understand.
Tonight, and that's where I'm headed tonight as soon as we get off there. So Washburn Rural and Seaman, 2 of the absolute best. So I'm looking forward to it.
How realistic is the chance that we hit a trifecta for the capital city in volleyball at state with Seaman, Hayden, and Washburn Rural, 5A, 4A, 6A, all having realistic title hopes this year?
They do. And, obviously a lot can happen between now and then. Both 6A and 5A are just loaded. And it's going to be a real challenge for anybody to go all the way through in those tournaments. And then 4A, you always have to deal with Bishop Miege, so which is the perennial champion. So, but I think you're right. I think all of them feel like if they're at their best, they can make a run.
All right, let's shift gears to football. We'll have some football tomorrow night. Our Lewis Toyota 580 Preps game of the week will take us to Hayden as they battle Perry Lecompton in 3A District 4 action. And Pistol, you've gotten a chance to see this Hayden team, and how do they compare in your mind to last year's group that made a run to the state championship game?
Very comparable. I think they have that same kind of firepower. They had some very good linemen to replace. They had a very good running back to replace in Finn Dunshee. They, lost their leading tackler, but they've just, it just seems like business as usual. Jet Wallmeyer's having a great year. Cade Mitchell's having a great year at running back. Jensen Strickle's one of my favorite athletes. I mean, I just think he's a great athlete in both football and track. I think they're right there again.
Looking at a couple of other football matchups in the city and in the area this weekend, huge one in the United Kansas Conference. Seaman hosting Basler Linwood. Winner has the inside track on a league championship. Basler Linwood's unbeaten. Seaman has the one loss earlier this year to Shawnee Mission East. What do you expect in this matchup, and how realistic are Seaman's chances at home?
Well, I think you feel good being at home. I think Coach Swafford and the Vikings know that Basler Linwood's just really, really playing well, and it's going to be a tough challenge. But, with the way Seaman can score and the weapons they have, I think whoever gets off to a good start, can kind of take a stranglehold on things, I think has a chance to pull out that win. But I don't know if there is a favorite in that game. So it's just going to come down to who plays the best. And I think those are also 2 teams, Dan, that are going to make some noise in the playoffs.
Particularly given that Seaman is in the 5A West bracket, which, the 5A East is a gauntlet. And there are some very good teams in the 5A West as well. But Seaman, I think, is probably glad to be in the West compared to what the East has to offer in 5A.
I would agree with that. And I think, they pulled off a huge win last year when they beat DeSoto. But I think they probably feel pretty good about where they stack up in the West.
One other game I want to ask you about this week is we are talking to Rick Peterson of TopSports.News, and there are a lot of good ones in the area this week. Silver Lake at Osage City is an excellent district game. Winner of that one probably wins that district. Olpe and Rossville doing battle in Rossville. Winner of that one has the inside track on a district championship in 1A District 2. But I wanted to ask you about Washburn Rural Junction City this week. Washburn Rural 2-0 in the Centennial League after a 1-3 start. Junction City beat Topeka High pretty good last week. What do you make of Rural's chances to continue to be unbeaten and set up a league title decider with Manhattan in Week 8?
I like her chances, but I never downplay or discount a Randall Zimmerman Junction City team. You know, they were struggling to come in 1-4 last week, and all of a sudden, I don't know, whatever it was, like 51-20 or something. So the Blue Jays are always dangerous. But I think Rural really feels good about where they are after they went through that 3-game gauntlet against a very good Missouri team and 2 very good Kansas teams. So I think they like, and some of their younger players have got some experience. So I think they have to feel confident going into these next 2 Centennial League showdowns.
Rick Peterson of TopSports.News joining us for our local sports spotlight here on 580 Sports Talk. Pistol, I wanted to make sure really quickly to get in a question here about Washburn football in action coming up on Saturday against Missouri Southern at home at Yager Stadium. The 2 teams at the bottom of the table right now in the MIAA. And look, I know that Washburn has not had a great season overall, but I'm just looking at the stats. I've got my game prep here in front of me. This feels like a game that not only should Washburn win, but it kind of feels like one that the Ichabods need to win. Do you feel the same way?
Yes. When I talked to Coach Schurig yesterday, I said, I know nobody likes to throw around the term must win, but isn't this kind of a must win? and he handled it like coaches do, but he admitted that it's very, very important for his team to just get something they feel good about. They really felt good after the Missouri Western win, and then had a couple of steps back, I think they feel like. So now they just got to get back on target.
Pivoting back to high school sports as we finish things up with Rick Peterson of TopSports.News. Hard to believe, but we're already at our first state events of the season coming up this next week in both girls tennis and girls golf. I'll start with girls tennis. Obviously, Hayden defending champs, Ainsley Zululeta going for another state title. What are her and their chances? And who else should we be keeping an eye on from the city at state tennis?
The city has a huge contingent going to state tennis. Ainsley Zululeta is going for a 3rd title. She wasn't able to play last year, but now she's back. Emily Sheets is going for her 3rd doubles title, has a new partner this year. Seaman has had perfect team scores in back-to-back UKC and regional meets. They're very, very good, led by the singles players, Emma Sweeney and Molly Gorman. And, hey, don't want to leave out Care Paravel. Care Paravel has their first ever girls state qualifier in Madeline Poole, and she got 2nd at regionals. So she's a definite medal possibility.
That is tomorrow and Saturday, state girls tennis, state girls golf next week, the 21st and the 22nd. And you got defending champs from Silver Lake and Hayden over on the girls golf side. Who from the city has a chance to bring home some more hardware?
Well, you mentioned those 2, Hayden and Silver Lake, and I think they got a chance to repeat, both of them. And then never, ever forget Washburn Rural. Jared Goring's team, just year after year, is a contender. They were 4th last year, and I think they'll be trying to, at the very least, take home a trophy after out of a very tough class.
Remarkable that we're already to state events in the fall sports season. It just flies by in a flash. We're on week number 7 of high school football, and breaking it all down with us is Rick Peterson of TopSports.News on the Lewis Toyota Local Sports Spotlight. Pistol, always a pleasure. What game will you be at Friday night?
I just kind of follow you guys around, so I'll be at Hayden.
All right, we'll look forward to seeing you out at Hayden Field then. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay.
That is Rick Peterson. We'll take a quick break, come back, wrap up this 3 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk after this. Little either or over under to wrap up this 3 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk, since we're going to be talking college football next hour. I have an either or for you, and it's the Heisman Trophy race. It might be two guys at the forefront right now. So which would you rather have on your college football team? Ashton Jeanty or Travis Hunter?
I think this is easy. The guy that can do it all, Travis Hunter.
Yeah, I would like to put this out there. I want Ashton Jeanty to win the Heisman. Like, that is my want.
No,
but
we did the research. We were talking about this yesterday off the air. Nobody from outside the Power 5 / Notre Dame has won the Heisman since Ty Detmer at BYU in 1990.
which is crazy. And I like the guy. I just love watching him play. But if you're saying you're building a team, who are you picking? You're giving me CB1 and wide receiver 1 in one player. I'm probably not playing him 112 snaps a game, but I'm taking that guy.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, if you're managing Travis Hunter, are you playing him that many snaps? Like,
No.
if he were on my team, especially, here's the thing with Colorado. Like, you saw their wide receiver depth on display against K-State, where Jimmy Horn went out and Travis Hunter went out, and they still had two legitimate number ones out there in LeJontay Wester and Will Shepard. Like, they don't need to be doing this to Travis Hunter. They really don't. But he might be better on offense than he is on defense. I don't think he is. But, like, you could make that argument. Yeah, he's a unicorn for sure, but it's no disrespect to Jeanty, however you pronounce his name. I keep getting it wrong. But by any name, he's unbelievable.
Yeah, he really is incredible. Real quick, October weeknight Conference USA or November weeknight Maction?
I'm still partial to the original and best, the Maction.
Conference USA is the.
It's because Marshall was in Conference USA. That's a really bad league.
It is.
Also, they only play to get on the air. Like, that's the only reason they moved their schedule around, because they were getting too many ESPN Plus broadcasts.
CUSA
and Facebook
and
broadcasts.
the MAC are both statistically like the weakest of the conferences, but everybody in the MAC's the same. Like, that's very even football. It's so uneven in Conference USA that you just get the ugliest game.
Because they accept people coming up from FCS.
Yeah. This is true. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll project out the rest of the Big 12 schedule. We'll talk to Paul Myerberg. We'll do What Is Wrong With You in the next hour. 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday afternoon on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online worldwide at 580WIBW.com. And on our video stream, we welcome our listeners, new and old, to be viewers, new and old, on our YouTube stream. Our channel is 580 Sports Talk. You can also watch us on Facebook. The page is WIBW News. I'm Dan Lucero. Brendan Wierzynski and Spencer Dupuis are here as well. We are with you until 6 o'clock. Then we'll have a little overtime between 6 and 6:30. We got Thursday Night Football on the radio tonight. It is with deepest sympathies and our apologies that we inform you we will be broadcasting the Saints and the Broncos tonight. Spencer Rattler and Bo Nix. And boy, Spencer Rattler outplays Bo Nix.
Have you seen the reports that apparently there are a lot of people in the Saints organization who didn't want this to be Drew Brees appreciation night because they're still mad at Sean Payton for how he left New Orleans and they didn't want him to be in the building when they celebrate Drew Brees?
No, I did not see that.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
I think it's very funny.
Sean Payton, very unlikable guy.
That's what makes it so funny that he has the kind of ties and friends in the media that he does. Normally those guys are reviled by media members, but Sean Payton took the bold move of saying, I'm going to be nice to exactly one group of people. And it's the guys who are going to make me look good publicly. Everyone else I'm going to be a jerk to.
Also, it helps him that his agent was also Tom Brady's agent. And so
yeah,
you need to be in good with Don Yee if you're going to get like real good info if you're covering the league.
Yeah.
And so
Don Yee.
Yeah.
Man.
That's how the game works. That's how access journalism works. And a lot of NFL insider journalism is just access journalism with thick skin.
Yeah.
So that is the game tonight. Pregame at 6:30. I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to lie to you. I couldn't care less.
Yeah, I'll be watching my alma mater probably throw it away.
Text from the 785. Alpha Media should be ashamed of itself for airing this game. Look, it's the Thursday night football game from our friends at Westwood One.
Oh, y'all are going to gamble on it. It's fine. Yeah, tonight we've got 2 college games on this evening. Georgia State at Marshall. And we've got some ACC action, Boston College, Virginia Tech.
I might check that out. That could be fun. I like Thomas Castellanos. I like Kyron Drones.
Yeah.
It's a fun game.
You got the great Matt Berry on the call for that one.
There you go. If I'm going any football tonight, that'll be the football I go with.
Wow. Thanks.
I'm going to be blunt with you. I'm going to watch the NFL game. My wife and I have some chores we got to get done at home. My parents are coming to visit this weekend, so we've got some house cleaning to take care of. So I'll have it on for background for a while, and I'll join late because I've got the Washburn Coaches Show tonight at 6 o'clock until 7 o'clock on Country 106.9, live from Skinny Sports Bar and Grill.
Nicely done.
Thank you. But yeah, I'm going to have it on. I'll admit it. I
will say this. If Spencer Rattler outplays Bo Nix tonight, I'm going to lose every friend from my hometown who is a Bronco fan that I've ever made in my life. Because I'm going to be insufferable.
This could be a mammoth night for #the agenda. That's what a group of very loud Saints fans have developed who supported getting rid of Derek Carr post-haste and just playing Spencer Rattler and saying, what the hell, why not? And I really don't blame them, to be completely honest with you. Spencer, you were right. Matt Berry and Dan Mullen on the BC Virginia Tech game.
Well,
Dan
yeah, they're
Mullen,
the Thursday night broadcast crew.
Yeah.
The main ESPN Thursday night broadcast crew.
Matt Schumacher and Dustin Fox are on the Marshall game.
I don't know who those are. I think I've heard of Dustin Fox.
Yeah, he works in radio in Cleveland. Yeah.
Invite you folks to interact with the show today on the Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429. From construction sites to renovations, from the farm to the garage, Top City Metal Supply understands the value of precision and cost efficiency. No more wasted materials, no more wasted money, just metal cut to the exact size you need. Top City Metal Supply, located on South Topeka Boulevard, just north of Forbes Field. You can also jump in the YouTube live chat if you are watching the show live on YouTube today. Again, the channel is 580 Sports Talk. Anybody want to go to Europe?
Let's go.
Got another keyword for the ultimate European vacation. See the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Check out Big Ben in London. Take a gondola ride in Venice and more with our international vacation contest. Listen for the winning words every weekday until Friday. You and a +1 could be on the ultimate getaway of a lifetime. Go to 580WIBW.com. Click on the link to enter and enter this keyword this hour Event. 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 Event is your keyword.
It would be an event to go on a trip to Europe.
Yes, you can go see many events. You can schedule events like a private gondola ride in Venice or a dinner river cruise on the Seine in Paris.
There's a once-in-a-lifetime event that you should enter for because tomorrow's the last day.
Yes, tomorrow's the last day we're doing keywords.
Oh, yeah, that's important to know.
Yes, it is. So go and enter and register to win that trip. Coming up later on this hour, we got 2 new stories on what is wrong with you. We got Paul Myerberg joining us for the Big 12 breakdown. But first, speaking of the Big 12, we've been talking about the Big 12 at the midway point quite a bit this week. Halfway through the season, every team's played 6. Every team has 6 more to go. And I will give you guys my predictions. I went through the schedule and I tried to predict out wins and losses. This is a fool's errand, of course. I thought Arizona State was going to win 2 games all year, and they've already won 5. So, my projections are what they are, taken for a grain of salt. But here are the big questions as we look forward to the rest of the Big 12 season. We'll start with the in-state schools. First question, can K-State run the table from here? Here's who K-State has. They go West Virginia this week, Sunflower Showdowns at home. They're at Houston. Then they have a bye. Then they're at home against Arizona State, at home against Cincinnati, and then Farmageddon in Ames the final Saturday of the regular season, November 30th. I think Kansas State can and will win out. And honestly, the game I'm most worried about is almost this one because it's back-to-back road games and you've got the Sunflower Showdown next week. You just played an emotional game on the road. This could be a pitfall, look-ahead type of situation for K-State, but I think they're better than West Virginia and they should win. I think they're better than Kansas. They're better than Houston, Arizona State, and Cincinnati. And then when they get to Iowa State, look, no easy road games in the league, but at the same time, I'm not writing off a game just because it's in Ames, right? I'm not writing that game off for Kansas State just because it's in Ames. They've won in Ames.
Yeah, I wouldn't write it off just because it's in Ames. That's the one.
It's dangerous, certainly. It's the last game, and it might be for a trip to Arlington. It might be winner goes. But I think it's winnable for Kansas State because I think they're going to get better. I think we're getting to a point where the offense and Avery Johnson are going to improve on a week-to-week basis. And, of course, this is all, assuming reasonably good health. I also don't think there's any team on this schedule that can really hurt Kansas where, the best teams on this schedule are not teams that are going to throw for 400 yards like Colorado did last week. That's not how they're built. That's not how they're wired. So I don't think that teams are going to be able to take advantage of K-State's weaknesses in the same way that maybe some other teams on this schedule have been able to. I think it sets up good for K-State. I do. I think they're going to win out.
I think this is a very nice schedule for K-State. I think that you're right. They're better than all the next 5 teams on the schedule. Arizona State's a great story, but K-State's better than them. They're better than Cincinnati. Houston's terrible. I think West Virginia's cooked, and there's no reason to think KU can beat K-State right now. I don't think you are giving enough credit to Iowa State. I don't like saying it because I've really enjoyed making fun of Matt Campbell teams for years and years and years and years. I think Iowa State is really good. They are experienced. They've got a legit quarterback. Home field advantage, is it everything? No, it certainly is not. But we also know, and especially if that game is at night, and I think there's a real chance they put that game in primetime, depending on what's on the line in that contest, you might get a really good crowd in Ames. I would still lean with Kansas State in that game, but I don't think I lean any more than 55-45, 52-48, something like that. I think that is a near coin flip game. So is it possible? Yeah, absolutely. In fact, if I'm saying I think K-State's even a slight favorite or a slightly above 50% chance, then yeah, the odds are they won't, but I would predict that they will run the table and finish the conference season with just 1 loss, that game at BYU. But I'm not writing off that Iowa State game. I legitimately think that is a real challenge for this team. If it was in Manhattan, I'd say yes. I unequivocally, I would say yes. But I think now, I would like to put a caveat on this. Iowa State is what, 10-win season in history, 10-win seasons in history. What's the stat? Yeah. So we could still be in line for a truly legendary collapse of gargantuan proportions. But as it stands now, what we have seen now, the body of work now, I think that Iowa State game's close to a toss-up.
They've been very turnover dependent. They forced 13 turnovers in 6 weeks, and they do a good job taking care of the ball, which they deserve credit for. But, what happens against a team that is risk averse and doesn't give it to them twice? If they're averaging 2 turnovers a game, what happens if they don't get those? I don't think they have.
Fair question.
I like Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins. They've got good wide receivers. They've got 3 running backs who can all play, average about 5 yards a carry. But I don't see where the difference makers are on defense. It's a good defense. It's well coached. I just don't know who the difference makers are in that defense. So I don't think it's as good as the numbers right now.
Okay.
I look at Iowa State as a team that, they should sail to 10-0, frankly. They got UCF this week at home. That should be a win. They got Texas Tech that should beat them. They go to KU. That place is going to be Jack Trice Stadium South. We've made that joke. They should beat KU at Arrowhead. They should beat Cincinnati at home. Then they go to Utah. That's another thing. That's going to be a physical football game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If they go to Utah and get beat, that could be the kind of game that beats you twice.
I agree. The funniest thing about that, I think the most dangerous game on that schedule is UCF. But seriously, if you want to talk about what are, the history of these programs, why do we view Iowa State the way we view it? Why do we view every Gus Malzahn team the way we view it? That feels like the epitome of those two things. Now everyone's counting out Gus Malzahn's team because they looked like ass the last couple of weeks.
This is true.
That's when he thrives. That is when Gus Malzahn's at his best. When is Iowa State and Matt Campbell at their worst? Generally speaking, when people finally buy all the way in. This is the year. And then it's suddenly not. So I know that is much more anecdotal than it is analytical, but that's why that game terrifies me, because in terms of the narratives, ultimate upset game. Shoot, what's the line in that game?
I don't know. Go look it up. Meanwhile, here's the second question, the big question surrounding the in-state teams. Kansas is 1-5. They've got Houston at home this week. I think they're going to win. Coming off the bye, I think they're going to beat Houston. Then they go to K-State. They have a bye, and they got Iowa State at home. They could very easily lose both of those games, and then they've got 7 losses, and you can't go to a bowl. And all those seniors, everything they worked for this season, it's all out the window when you can't go to a bowl. What does it look like from there if bowl eligibility is off the table for their final 3 games, which are at BYU, home against Colorado, and at Baylor? Is there enough pride with this senior class and with this program that even if, because they could play well and lose to Kansas State and Iowa State. They could play good football and lose both of those games.
Right.
Is there a level of pride that says, hey, we got to finish this as best we can and put up a respectable showing? Or do they just drop their daubers and say this is over?
By the way, UCF's a 13.5-point dog. I think I might take it. I worry about that, what you just illustrated there. Here is why I would imagine that's not going to be the case. You got to sell guys on being part of the team going forward, right? That's a part of life with the transfer portal. And this is the first time under the Leipold administration that KU can't sell the dream, right? Hey, first year 0, we're building towards something. Don't leave because you got in on the ground floor. Then, hey, we won 6 games. We're going to a bowl. We almost won that bowl game. We're on the way up. Last year, obviously, great, tremendous. This year, you don't have that. You're banking on the bounce back pitch now, not the ascending pitch.
The other pitch would be stadium.
Yes. So you're working on trying to keep those guys around. Here's how you do it. Freshman. Zeke Marshall. Yeah. DJ Warner starts starting games. Dak Brinkley starts starting games. By Job's not a freshman, but you see him playing even more snaps than he's been playing. You put the young guys in there. And I'm not saying that you tell Kobe Bryant to go kick rocks, but maybe you're not playing every snap. Maybe you're working some other guys in because you're trying to sell to those guys you need to re-recruit to stay. Right. Hey, look, this was a lost year. This sucks. Do you ever want to feel this again? You came here for a reason. We're going to put you in there. You're going to get a chance to prove that we made the right decision and that you made the right decision. Let's build towards something. You kind of have to bring back that old plan that you had. And I would feel terrible for Jalen Daniels if he gets benched at the end of his career, because it's been a great career at KU. I would also at the same time not be shocked if we see at least one Zeke Marshall start before the year's over.
Yeah, and I think that would be,
because he's the future.
You have the responsibility to the program at that point. And you got to do what's right for the program more so than what's right for the individual guys. Even like all things being equal, just like as things stand right now, I can't get to better than 4-2 for KU. Even the brightest possible projection I could give you, I can't get to better than 4-2 over their last 6, which means they don't go to a bowl. So then, like, what happens when that is confirmed? That's going to be really interesting to follow. And I think we'll speak to, just how strong that locker room is, how strong the culture is that they've tried to build in the last 4 years under Lance Leipold. We're going to learn a lot about KU football one way or another.
Is that when you would bench him, though? When you'd bench?
I think you got to think about it.
Yeah.
You got to think about it. Hey, well, if you're not going to a bowl, you might take it all the way to 4 games left in the year, so then you keep the red shirt on Marshall. By the way, trying to get to a bowl and 180 yards for Devin Neal. Those are the only numbers that matter the rest of the year. And I hate to do this player thing. Devin Neal deserves that record. Get him 180 yards.
I agree completely. All right, let's go around table real quick. Spencer, who is playing in Arlington for the Big 12 championship?
I mean, I think it's gonna be BYU and Kansas State.
BYU and Kansas State.
I would love for it to be BYU. I don't think they have the horses. I'll say K-State and Iowa State. So we get a Farmageddon rematch, back-to-back games.
So BYU's schedule, they got Oklahoma State Friday night at home. Tomorrow. That's tomorrow.
Yep.
They go to UCF. That's a tricky one. That's a long cross-country flight. Some teams, like K-State and the rest of the long-term Big 12 teams, they're used to going out to West Virginia. I don't think that's a time zone type of trip. But BYU going out to UCF, that's new. And we'll see how they handle that. They have Utah at home, or rather Utah at Utah, Kansas at home, at Arizona State, and at home against Houston. That feels like 10-2 at worst for me. So I actually do think it's going to be BYU winning the tiebreaker over Iowa State, because I think Iowa State's got 2 conference losses in them. I think they're going to lose to Utah and Kansas State at the end of the year. I think Utah, I'm going to ask Paul Myerberg about this when we have him on. I think Utah is going to be better in the second half because they don't have to do the Cam Rising, will he, won't he? I think they're going to be a lot more focused on Isaac Wilson being the guy, and there's more certainty on a week-to-week basis. I think it's going to help them. I think they're going to go on a run in the second half. The only game I have them lose in the second half is BYU. So I have them going 6-3 in the league, along with Texas Tech going 6-3. And then I got about 1 billion teams at 4-5. But I have Iowa State, BYU at 7-2. The tiebreaker would be their record in common games. I have BYU winning the tiebreaker and playing Kansas State in a rematch in Arlington.
Okay.
So
I'd be for it. I think it'd be a great story. I've been riding this Iowa State train all year, though. I'm not going to hop off now.
For the record, when I went through and I did this, I had Arizona and Arizona State both at 7-5. Baylor at 3-9 and looking for a new coach. UCF just missing out on a bowl. They lose 3 in a row to miss a bowl. Go 5-7. Cincinnati gets to a bowl, 6-6. I have them beating TCU in their finale at home for bowl eligibility. I have CU winning their next 2 to get to 6-2, and then losing out at Tech, Utah, at KU, Oklahoma State. Iowa State, as I mentioned, 10-2. KU, I mentioned 4-8. Oklahoma State, good second half. Mike Gundy always seems to do well second half of seasons. I have them getting to a respectable 7-5. Disappointing, but respectable. TCU just misses a bowl. Tech goes 8-4. West Virginia 6-6, and Neil Brown fries in the bag.
Yes, correct.
We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll do a speed run through what is wrong with you, and then Paul Myerberg will join us on 580 Sports Talk. Time for What Is Wrong With You on 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday. We have a new weekly champion after yesterday. The boot theft bozo, woman who stole shoes off the porches of a pair of homes in Snoqualmie, Washington, and got busted while she was wearing one of the pairs of boots she stole.
You got to at least hide them, man.
Yeah, come on.
Some plausible deniability.
For my story today, we're going to Austin, Texas, where a man tried to rob a pizzeria and got the hell beaten out of him. 19-year-old Richard Curtis was charged with aggravated robbery, allegedly walked into a Marco's Pizza last Thursday at around 7 p.m. and approached an employee. He slipped the worker a note that said, "Don't say bleep, empty the drawer." He then showed the employee a gun in his waistband. Advantage Curtis. Not for long. The employee grabbed the suspect and put him in a chokehold while his coworker called police. The manager then showed up and took the gun away, tried to shoot Curtis, but the gun didn't fire.
Wow.
So he pummeled him with the handle of the gun, opened him up like a faucet above his left eyebrow.
Jeez.
He's all scabbed up. It looks awful.
Mercy.
At one point, the manager grabbed a knife from the kitchen and asked Curtis if he preferred prison or death.
Yikes.
Curtis apparently preferred prison because he stopped fighting and waited for law enforcement to arrest him.
Goodness gracious.
That manager loves that Marco's Pizza.
Clearly.
Like, ride or
Maybe he's
die.
had a horrible day. Like, nah, this ain't how this day's ending. No way.
Prison or death.
Wow.
Quite an ultimatum. All right, Spencer, what do you got?
Oh, yeah, we had a late change for me. Baltimore City Police are searching for a suspect in connection with an assault that was captured on video. Well, multiple assaults that were captured on video after the Ravens Commanders game over the weekend. According to police, a warrant has been issued for 24-year-old John Callis, who is wanted in connection to an assault that was captured on video on Sunday after the Ravens Commanders football game. The video shows the man assaulting two 23-year-old men as they were walking in on South Charles Street. Police said they have issued an arrest warrant for Callis on first-degree assault, aggravated assault charges, 3 counts of second-degree assault charges. Oh, yeah, this guy went viral for this online, in which people found his name and where he works, and he has already been fired from his job. But apparently he is he's a rich kid, basically. So he's got a track record for this.
Yeah, so they saw the video on Twitter. He's just basically stomping down the street in a Lamar Jackson jersey looking to fight people.
And flexing after he punches somebody.
Lacey DaCosta, who is the wife of Ravens general manager Eric DaCosta, she took to Twitter this week to talk about this. "I'm disgusted by the video circulating of the incident that occurred after our game Sunday. I will not repost it. Stay far away from this fan base. You do not represent us ever. We have love in our hearts for the team and the city. No room for hate, sir. You, sir, are actually lost."
Apparently,
Man,
Lamar Jackson liked the video.
Imagine getting roasted by somebody related to the front office and being told you're not a real fan.
Yeah, it's
what
tough.
a nightmare.
That's tough. Imagine how many dollars this dude's lost on parlays on his beloved Ravens over time.
So we have the story that Jeffrey in the YouTube live chat dubbed Pizza Thug, and we have the story Vance in the YouTube comments dubbed Stark Raven Crazy.
Nice.
Well done by the commentariat. I'm going to go with the guy who blew up his own life just because he wanted to fight somebody because his favorite team won.
I agree.
Yeah.
I give a big shout out to the Marco's Pizza employees in the other story.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah, huge shout out to them. Does that beat our boot thief bozo?
Man, I kind of think so. Like, this dude potentially ruined his life because he got hammered after a football game. I'm going to go with that one for the weekly win.
Me too.
All right. Stark Raven Crazy, the Baltimorean, Paul called him.
Ooh, good one.
Good one, guys. He's moving on as our What Is Wrong With You champion. Paul Myerberg joins us next. We go to the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline and welcome in the great Paul Myerberg of USA Today, who covers college football and joins us every week at this time for the Big 12 football breakdown. Paul, let's jump right into it. K-State wins a late-night thriller in Boulder, 31-28 over the Colorado Buffaloes. From the Kansas State perspective, what was your biggest takeaway, the most important thing K-State showed you in winning that game?
Well, I'll name two. One is the idea that they came out of that BYU road trip and clearly learned a thing or two about how to handle an environment. Boulder, when Colorado is good, or at least when Colorado is trendy, it's not an easy place to play. And some of the similar factors that you find at BYU are there, just heightened, to a higher degree. So I love that response. I love the in-game response. And specifically, the second part is I love what Avery Johnson showed. And I will tell you, during that game, I got texts from people all in the industry about this Avery Johnson's guy's overrated. God, he's so inconsistent. Gosh, I miss Will Howard. I wasn't getting a lot of texts at 1:30, 1:45 Eastern because his response in that game, if I'm Kansas State, I'm getting on the plane and I'm overjoyed because you have hinged your immediate future on this kid's shoulders. And you saw in the span of 3 minutes, 2 minutes of game time, the response that you need to see from a guy to win a Big 12, to get to a playoff, to win a playoff game. So I don't care that it's 31-28. The only thing that's cool about that is, as we spoke about last week, I couldn't figure out why Vegas had it -3 and they won by 3. So kudos to those guys. I would just be ecstatic to a degree if I was Kansas State about the response to a road trip, the response from your young QB, and just kind of overjoyed. You win this game against a good team that circled it because they knew that it could be a moment in prime time, not prime time, but on national TV once again. You take their best shot. You get an incredible performance from Shedeur Sanders. You weather that, you win in the end. I just think it's a positive. And I know that 31-28 might not be what I expected or maybe what a lot of the fan base expected, but I think a lot of positives to take out of that game and to move forward. And the biggest one, like I said, is winning on the road in a tough environment at night. They had to prove they could do that, and they did.
How underrated is DJ Giddens from a national perspective?
Shoot. He had some runs in that game, guys. I know Colorado's a little bit of a sieve, especially against the run. He's got power, he's got foot speed, he's got agility, and he's got moves. So he is definitely underrated. It's another great opportunity on Saturday night, and we'll talk about that game. It's in prime time. 8 o'clock, a lot of eyeballs. I would love to see him. I think he's obviously an all Big 12 guy. I'd love to see him get a little bit of national hype going because he's produced. Week to week, I think he's produced at a really high level. And Devin Neal's obviously a great one, but DJ Giddens right now is the best running back in the state. So what do you have, 182, 185? And he earned that. A lot of tough yards. So credit to him. He's having a monster year and really delivering on a higher workload than what we've seen him do in the past. So great season for him. And obviously him and Johnson is an outstanding backfield combination.
So here we are at the midway point of the college football season and the Big 12 season. Each team has played 3 conference games, so it's a 6-game sprint to the finish here to determine who goes to Arlington. And like we all predicted, it's BYU and Texas Tech and Iowa State in the driver's seat for those spots in the Big 12 championship game. Of those 3 teams, BYU, Iowa State, and Texas Tech, do you consider those teams to be the real front runners in this conference? Who do you like best of those 3 has the best chance, you think, of making it all the way to the conference championship game?
Yeah, I think it's Iowa State. And BYU is starting to turn some heads. I know they beat SMU, and that was eye-opening. The way they played to get to 5-0 was impressive enough, but they just hammered. I want to put a pin in that. But Iowa State's the team that I think you need to watch for. What they did against Iowa State, casual, easy, smooth, pedestrian, and they made it look easy. Not very explosive. Obviously, Rocco Beck is great, but just 1 penalty, no turnovers in that environment. That's just a sign of incredibly good coaching. So look at Iowa State. Obviously, their schedule plays in their favor, especially with Utah going to be out Cam Rising the rest of the year. They host K-State in the finale. That's the team for me. I think as of right now, I still think Kansas State is the best team in the league, but you got to respect Iowa State. Like I said, the coaching is so good. And I have to give Matt Campbell credit. They had a bit of a lull. I don't think they changed at all. I think he stuck to his script, stuck to his guns, found the guys that fit his system and his scheme, and you're seeing the payoff in a big way. So all 3 of them are good. Texas Tech's got a bunch of good wins in this 4-game win streak, But I would say Iowa State 1, BYU 2, and Tech is a good team, but not one that I think that you need to take too seriously right now as a Big 12 winner.
The great Paul Myerberg is our guest. He covers college football for USA Today, America's newspaper, and joins us every Thursday at this time on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for our Big 12 football breakdown. I want to follow back real quick, Paul, on this BYU team. And I've liked Kalani Sitake for a long time. Our whole crew here has. And look, I give a ton of credit to Ratzlaff because I thought he might be the worst quarterback in the conference. He's playing out of his mind. They're getting really good hard-nosed defense this year. How real is this performance by BYU this season? Is it a total mirage, or is this team legit good, if even, a little bit, maybe not as good as their record indicates?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the last part. I think they are a good team. I think that they have earned this. I mean, obviously Kansas State, they play again. I don't know if you would take BYU. I still think you take Kansas State in that game. I think they've looked good enough to take them seriously as a top 25 team. I don't know what it is, guys. Maybe it's my own biases from the preseason or just my thought that I see them play and I'm just not struck by the individual, but the sum of the parts is good. You know what I mean? So I say take them seriously. It's a good story. Like you said, Sitake's a good guy and you want to see him succeed. I'm just having a hard time getting fully on the bandwagon. Part of me just feels like they're 6-0 now and they're going to be 8-4 when it's over. Or maybe they'll be 9-3 when it's done. And like I said, I have no real reason to say that except for Retzlaff is playing above his head. They cannot run the football. They're good defensively, but they still have moments where you see gaps in their scheme. You see the ability to take advantage of holes in their defensive alignment. And I want to give them credit for not allowing that, but it just feels a little bit flimsy. So I'm not going to buy in completely. I actually think they're going to lose on Friday night. I think Oklahoma State coming off a bye. Mike Gundy owns the second half of the year. I think they're going to rebound and beat BYU. But I don't want to take away what they've done. And like I said, in particular, Arizona, they just hammered them. They hammered them. 41-19. You have to be respectful of that. So that's a good team. Makes the Big 12 look good for them to be this good. But no, I'm not buying in on them right now. I would put them probably outside the top 4 if I was ranking the best teams in this conference right now.
Of the teams that are contending for a trip to Arlington and contending for a Big 12 championship, so keep BYU in there, keep Tech in there, Iowa State, K-State for sure. If you want to throw in some others, that's fine. How many of those teams, though, Paul, could legitimately win a game in the playoff?
1, and maybe 2 if you like Iowa State. The one team that can win a game in the playoff is Kansas State, and that's what I felt in August. And I feel it a little bit more now, despite the BYU loss, despite the fact that things get a little bit nip and tuck in recent games. I still feel like their best football is ahead of them. And again, to go back to Colorado, that is the mark, a hallmark of a team that is improving is one that stays steady under fire just a couple of weeks after losing the complete spot at Provo. So I still think Kansas State's the only team that can get into the playoffs, especially as a 4 seed, and win a game there. I do think Iowa State, because of their coaching, because of the fact they have a good quarterback, and because they have a style that is unimpeachable, I think they are a good team that can get into the playoff and maybe win a game depending on matchup. But you can't say with a straight face, despite how good a story they are, just for example, like Kenny Dillingham has turned Arizona State around in 12 months. I mean, kudos. I mean, throw them a grade in Tempe. You cannot say with a straight face that even if they played Boise State, and they wouldn't because if they won the Big 12, but let's just say they played Boise State in the playoffs, who in their right mind would take Arizona State to beat Boise State? I don't really know who would. So there's no other team in this league outside of those top 2 that I would really take seriously in a playoff setting. And Kansas State's the only team where if you're filling out your bracket, you would look at Kansas State and say, they can win this one, yeah, but could they even win the next one? Could they win the one after that? Kansas State has that potential. I don't think any other team in this conference has that potential, or at least they haven't shown it as of yet.
Real quick sidebar, Paul. While we're talking hypotheticals here, I would sign up for Cam Scadaboo on one side and Ashton Genty on the other. I'd be all there for that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Look, this is the Big 12 podcast. If you guys, your team finishes playing KU, Kansas State, and you get a chance to watch Genty play for Boise State, I think he's doing things that guys like, I don't want to say Barry Sanders, but I kind of want to say no running back has done since Barry Sanders. And that's 200 yards on average per game. Not just that, pinball, jukebox, 55-yard touchdown runs where you have no idea how he does it, how he breaks his tackle, how he makes that guy miss. He's worth the price of admission. I got a colleague out there writing a story on him this week, so I'm excited to read that. And yeah, he's fantastic. I would love that matchup as well. I would still take Boise by 14.
All right, let's get to it. We don't need to spend a whole lot of time here on the Jayhawks. Coming off the bye, taking on Houston. Nothing quite says homecoming like having to take a bus ride 45 minutes to a different state for your homecoming game, but I digress. KU versus Houston. Paul, Houston even has a better record than KU, but Vegas likes the Jayhawks here. All the metrics, SP+, FEI, Tracer, they all love Kansas in this matchup. Do you like Kansas to beat former KU head coaching candidate Willie Fritz in this one?
No, I don't. Why would you? Why at this point are you going to pick KU? Let's just talk about what's going to happen, because I think we all know they're going to outplay Houston. They're going to look better than Houston. They're going to be beating Houston, and then they're going to lose to Houston. Unless they've discovered the magic formula in their time off, which I hope they did. Actually, what I hope they did is that I hope they chartered a plane or just a big fishing boat and went to the Bahamas for 3 days or 4 days. Just to forget about things, or like went backpacking through the Appalachian Trail, just to get their minds off the topic. I don't know why Kansas is a touchdown favorite, just because Kansas hasn't proven that they know how to win a football game right now. So I'm going to take Houston to win this game, even though Kansas is desperate, because this is just what happens. And I'm getting flustered and stutterpuss. I don't even know what to say. Kansas will lose this game because I'm tired of predicting that they're going to win games where they're clearly the better team. Because I'm 0 for the last 5 or 4 of the last 5. So, no, I'm taking Houston and our guy Willie Fritz, and that's it.
Our guest is Paul Myerberg, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for the Big 12 football breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk. Looking at some of the other action coming up this weekend in the Big 12. Utah's at home to TCU. We know now the Isaac Wilson era is beginning. We know Cam Rising is out for the rest of the season. My theory is that's going to help Utah. They don't have to play the will he or won't he game with Rising the rest of the season, and they can move forward with one guy that they know is going to be the guy. Do you feel like that's beneficial for Utah to have the reins firmly in Wilson's hands, or do you think there's just too much of a drop-off between what we thought they could be with Rising and what they're probably going to be with a freshman?
Oh, that last part is true. There is a significant drop-off of what we thought they could be and what Wilson is bringing to the table. But when Rising has played, it hasn't been there. So the reality is the drop-off is probably not that severe. You make a really, really good point. The truth is, I looked at this when I knew Rising was going to miss the rest of the year and thought, this is good for Utah because of 2025 or 2026. But it's an interesting point, and I can't totally speak to it because it would require knowing the mindset in the locker room. But generically, there is definitely some power and importance behind the idea of a locker room, or at least an offense, being able to rally around a guy from Sunday to Friday and not have to play the will he or won't he, or not have to answer those questions, or just focus on developing a rapport with Wilson. You're right. I think down the line, like in 2 or 3 games, you may start to see a payoff for that. The problem is, like, you play a TCU team that is going to score points, whether you're at Utah or not. I mean, they're going to at least throw the football on you. They're going to force you to a degree to play your style of game unless you're completely able to decide the tempo, and Utah hasn't proven they can do that this year. So I'm a little bit worried about this game, but that's a really excellent point. Let's talk about it next week. I think there might be something there about the idea that Utah can focus on Wilson and, importantly, build an entire game plan around him as a staff and allow him to immerse himself in that all week instead of worrying about getting Rising first team snaps. So let's keep an eye on it. Utah, obviously, at the very least, we can say this. 3 weeks ago, we were still kind of preaching the gospel. Utah is not going to be a factor this year, clearly in the playoff hunt. And I don't really think they're going to be a factor in the Big 12 hunt. Never want to count out Kyle Whittingham because of what he's achieved, but I'm just looking at the tea leaves here. This is kind of a team in transition and in flux. There's talent. It's young. There's a quarterback who's talented, but he's young. Maybe this is a 2025 team. We'll know more after Saturday night, but that's a really interesting idea. Let's circle back on that this season.
K-State on the road for a second straight week, playing a night game in hostile territory. They go to West Virginia, where Neil Brown's primary concern is that everybody have a good time at Milan-Pushker Stadium this coming Saturday night. It's hard to go on the road back-to-back weeks. Morgantown is never a walk in the park. That being said, it feels like K-State's a lot better than West Virginia. So what is your read on this one?
Yeah, I actually think that's a good thing to stay on the road. I think that you leave Colorado and as a staff, climb on those guys, you say immediately, refocus because we're going back on the road on Friday. Like, we're going to be home tomorrow. You got 4 days at home, and then we're back at it. And I think that can be the focus of your week. again, like what they showed in that environment in Boulder, you just can carry that over. And quite frankly, even though they're still just a field goal favorite, don't ask me why. It makes me nervous. This matchup, I think, is so much better for Kansas State. I mean, it's just so much simpler on offense. I mean, I think it strains your back end so much less. So I like this matchup. Again, like you saw from Iowa State, the hallmarks are simple. No turnovers or few turnovers, no penalties, no short field, no special team snafus. If you just take care of business as Kansas State, I think you get yourself into a position, maybe at halftime it's 17-14, maybe it's 21-17 going into the fourth. You put yourself in position to hammer them and slow them down and just kind of wear down on them. I think they can do that and win this game by 14 or 10 points in the fourth quarter. So good matchup. Again, good road trip against a team that has to have it. So if there's a sense of urgency for West Virginia, that maybe is a little bit of a factor, but a good matchup for Kansas State. I think they're going to find success here and they're going to win this game.
All right, Paul, let's get to it. Dumpster Juice pick of the week. The games in the MAC last week, by the way, just as ugly as we expected they would be. So that felt good just to know that horrible football was exactly what we expected. Yeah, right on. 2-0 last week. All right, we had a bunch of candidates this week. I thought about Arkansas State Southern Miss. I thought about UCLA Rutgers because that game is an affront to God himself. But instead, we're going with UAB at USF.
Yeah.
South Florida is not good. But while I'm not going to say Trent Dilfer is on the FBI's most wanted list, I will say he is a football terrorist. I think he's evil, like genuinely evil.
We're out of time here. I would love to do this and we could talk for 30 minutes about my stories about Trent Dilfer. Needless to say, I take immense glee and satisfaction in watching him get humbled on a weekly basis. What he's done at UAB is a crime. He is the worst hire of the decade. He's making $1.4 million and he's being overpaid by $1.4 million. I cannot believe how stupid, idiotic, reprehensible UAB's administration was to hire this dude. So they're going to get slaughtered by South Florida. South Florida, like you said, they're I don't know what happened here. I thought they would be pretty good because they showed some signs last year. UAB is going to get slaughtered. I'm here for it. I cannot wait for it. I will hope South Florida wins by 100, and I hope they win by 223 points to break the all-time record. I'm going to watch that game and root for points from South Florida. I could not root against Trent Dilfer anymore. That's it. I got to stop. We got to go.
Paul Myerberg dropping the mic on the Big 12 football breakdown this week. Paul, it is always a joy. We'll catch up again next week.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you next week.
That is Paul Myerberg. We'll come back, wrap up the 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk next. Wrapping up this 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk, just me and Spencer the rest of the way. Brendan on his way to Skinny Sports Bar and Grill at the corner of Huntoon and Gage in Topeka, where every day is game day and where Thursday is the Washburn Football Coaches Show. Join Brendan and head coach Craig Schurig as they preview Saturday's game against Missouri Southern from 6 to 7 on our sister station, your home for the Ichabods, Country 106.9. Our thanks again to Paul Myerberg. I wonder what he thinks about Trent Dilfer. Man, that was that ether, the stuff that makes your soul burn slow. And he's 100% right. Like, the Dilfer hiring has been such a disaster for UAB, an utter disaster. They had a perfectly good interim coach the year before they went to hire Dilfer, and now he's 5-1 at Louisiana Monroe, which is not an easy place to win.
No.
So, disaster by UAB. At least their quarterback didn't get busted for kiddie porn. Oh, wait a second. I'm hearing conflicting information about Jalen Kitna. Yikes. 5 o'clock hour coming up next. Let's get it. One more hour on this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Two-man game the rest of the way. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you here on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our live video stream. The YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk, and the Facebook page you can watch us on as well, WIBW News. However you're hanging out with us, we appreciate you making us a part of your Thursday here on 580 Sports Talk. Here in the final hour of the show, we have our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Lots to get to today, including some stunning news from the world of college basketball that we will get to here shortly. We will also be joined by the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, joins us for his weekly Thursday conversation here in about 20 minutes or so. We'll get Mitch's thoughts on the trip to take on the San Francisco 49ers, a Super Bowl 58 rematch coming up for the Chiefs on Sunday. Again, you can hear Mitch, Danon Hughes, and Josh Klingler and Art Haynes on the Chiefs Radio Network right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9 Sunday afternoon, a 2 o'clock pregame start, 3:25 the kickoff time from Levi's Stadium. Before we get into the fun stuff, want to go to Europe? Had somebody in the YouTube comments earlier today say, no, I don't want to go to Europe. I got to find that comment. It was really funny. John in the YouTube live chat earlier said, no, I don't want to go to Europe.
Why would you not want a free trip?
My ancestors left that continent for a reason. No reason for me to fly back. Hey, listen. I think we got it really good here in the good old US of A. It's true. But I also have a desire to see other parts of the globe before I shuffle off the mortal coil. So, but, you know, different strokes for different folks, right?
I jokingly told my girlfriend that, hey, at the end of next summer, let's go to Ireland so we can go watch a college football game. And she later told me immediately after, said, a college football game, you could drive 35 minutes or 55 minutes and go to a college football game.
You don't even drive that far. You live what, like 5 minutes from Yager Stadium?
That's true.
Go watch for a game any Saturday you want. So, Mark in the YouTube comments correctly points out I am not eligible to win this particular European trip. Yeah, I have to pay for my own or win one that someone else is giving away. I am not eligible for this trip, which is an opportunity to see the Eiffel Tower in Paris, check out Big Ben in London, take a gondola ride in Venice, and more. I do not necessarily know what that and more includes. We had a couple of different people ask us if Germany is a part of it. I couldn't tell you. I just know Paris, London, Venice, and more. It's a 10-day excursion to Europe. One winner gets a pair of tickets, air and VIP accommodations, and luxury hotel accommodations for themselves and a +1 on this European vacation. All you have to do to enter is go to 580WIBW.com, click on the link on the front page, top left on the sidebar, and enter the hour's keyword. This hour's keyword, SIP. S-I-P. SIP. As in, sip some champagne in Paris.
Wait, Dan, isn't it View?
No.
Oh,
that's October 10th, big guy. Were you double checking me? Do you not trust me? Do you not think I can do my job?
No, I just picked it up to see what the words were for tomorrow, but I did look, in fact, the week before. My fault.
Yeah, man. It is SIP. This hour's keyword is SIP. So you have until 6 o'clock to go to 580WIBW.com, enter the word SIP, S-I-P, SIP. On that page, that landing page to enter to win our ultimate European vacation. Mitch Holthus is coming up. We'll do a little bit of what's on tap. We got a playoff roundup still to come this hour as well. The Guardians are trying to make it a series against the Yankees. They have taken a 2-1 lead over the Yankees in the third inning of Game 3 of the ALCS. We'll update you on that later on. But first, let's get into some headlines. Let's start with the Chiefs headlines of the day. A name added to the injury report, and it's not a name you would want to see on the injury report. Juju Smith-Schuster limited today with a hamstring injury after he was not listed on the participation report yesterday. He is listed as limited today. If he could not go on Sunday, the Chiefs would be down their top 3 wide receivers for this game against the 49ers. Mike Dana continues to be, I had his name right for the longest time, and then I got crossways on it, and I apologize to Mike for continuing again to screw it up. And now I'm trying to find it. He's under Michael on the, but it is Dana. Mike Dana. Apologies. I had it right for the longest time, then I got confused. But it is Mike Dana. Did not practice for the second straight day with a pectoral injury. Not looking great for his availability for Sunday, but there is still one more day of practice to see if he can get through. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, McCole Hardman, Derek Nottie, all full participants for a second straight day for the Chiefs. We don't yet have the 49ers injury report, but they had a lot of guys not practicing yesterday, including both kickers on their roster, Jake Moody and Matthew Wright, which is interesting. Also, Juwan Jennings didn't practice yesterday with a hip injury, and Malik Collins did not practice yesterday with a knee injury. Jordan Mason was limited with the shoulder injury that forced him out of their win last Thursday against the Seahawks. Deebo Samuel also limited with a wrist injury. So a lot of bold-faced names on this list, but at least at this point, not too much to worry about maybe for the long term. But we'll keep an eye out at the updated
we've got
report.
Adam Schefter bombs 44 seconds ago for the second straight day. Juwan Jennings didn't participate in practice.
Okay.
And Deebo is limited.
Okay.
That's relevant.
Yes, that is extremely relevant. I'm going to go and see if the 49ers have maybe put out their because sometimes it takes a while for the
opposing team,
the Chiefs, or to get it onto their website when it comes from the opposing team. But I cannot find it on the 49ers website yet either. So looking for it, let you know if I can track it down. Anyway, not great radio. Apologies for that. We'll break it to you further, but thank you for noticing that from Adam Schefter. No Juwan Jennings for a second straight day. Deebo Samuel limited for a second straight day. So it could be the 49er receiver core that is a bit altered for Sunday's game as well. All right. First headline for you.
Can I just rip the Band-Aid off and do this headline?
Yes, go for it.
All right. Virginia men's basketball head coach Tony Bennett has word came out today earlier that he was announcing his retirement tomorrow at 11 a.m. Weeks before the start of the season. Very much a shocker. Matt Norlander of CBS Sports, he has posted to Twitter in the last 20 minutes. Sources say Bennett's retirement is not health related, thankfully. Have been told he still wants to be involved in college athletics and wants to work through solutions to ease some of the issues that led him to his retirement decision.
So the obvious allusion there is that Tony Bennett is maybe not pleased with the NIL era, if you want to call it that, of college basketball, of recruiting. He is far from alone in feeling the way that he feels on that. We've seen Jay Wright hang it up. We've seen Roy Williams call it a career. We've seen a lot of guys get out of coaching. A lot of really great coaches get out of coaching major men's college basketball in the last handful of years. And now, surprisingly, just weeks before the start of the season, Tony Bennett hangs it up. There's precedent here. Dean Smith retired on October 9th, 1997. There was no NIL era then.
I wasn't even born then.
Wow. You were not alive for Dean Smith. Wow. That
would be why I didn't know the exact date he retired.
Now, he was years off from the diagnosis of Alzheimer's that would eventually contribute to his death. But he retired in October of 97, and that kind of came out of nowhere. And that's the only precedent I can think of. We've seen coaches retire surprisingly, but this much proximity to the season.
He also signed a contract extension over the summer.
He did.
So it's a head scratcher.
He's got a lot to explain. And he has a press conference scheduled for tomorrow, 10 a.m. Central Time. And I suspect we'll have more from Tony Bennett on that. I have two not very charitable things to say about Tony Bennett. Number one, I don't care how against NIL you might be or how much you dislike what college basketball and college basketball coaching may have become in this modern era. You are doing your team, your kids who you recruited to your university, a disservice by retiring 3 weeks before the season tips off. Not even that long. 2 weeks, really, before the season gets underway in earnest. You are doing your kids a disservice. And look, if he doesn't feel like he can give them his best, I understand, but it is still harmful to your program. And if your primary reason for getting out is that you don't like what it's become, I understand, but it was this in April. It was this in May. It was this in June. And you could have done it then, and you could have given your successor more time to run the program, and you could have given your kids more advance notice. If they wanted to play for you, they're at that school because they wanted to play for you, and you could have given them some advance notice so they could have gotten in the portal and maybe made a decision that would have been better for them. So I don't like this from Tony Bennett.
Did you see a friend of the show, athletic writers, CJ Moore's post earlier today?
Yeah, he CJ Moore alluded to the idea that this has been there have been rumblings for a while about Bennett retiring, but it's one thing for there to be rumblings, another thing for him to do it on October 17th. I think that's inappropriate. I really do. I have a problem with that. And maybe there's a broader reason than, well, I just don't like what the job has become. Like, okay, but maybe stick it out for your guys. Stick it out for one more year. And then you don't have to, if the interim coach on staff is the guy that you want to have the job, start to groom him during the season so that he's well prepared for what the job is. I don't like this timing for Tony Bennett. I also want to say this as a fan of college basketball. Good riddance, Tony Bennett. And not because I think he's a bad guy, not because I think he's bad for college basketball. Tony Bennett's basketball teams were unwatchable dreck. I hated Virginia basketball under Tony Bennett. And maybe it will be something that is recognizable as real basketball moving forward. We can only hope. But that was the most unwatchable and unpleasant basketball program in America while Tony Bennett was in charge of it. And from that perspective, Tony Bennett 100% will not be missed on the sideline. Remember his final game?
I was going to say, it's kind of like ironic what his final game is now.
His final game was that game against Colorado State where they didn't score for an hour of real time. They had like 14 points at the half against a Mountain West Conference team with guys on the roster who are going to play in the NBA. They chose to play gross basketball. It wasn't Tony Bennett saying, man, I just can't recruit like big-time players to Virginia. We're going to have to win with scheme. We're going to have to win. We can't get five-star kids to play here. We're going to have to win with the way we play. It's not like TJ Otzelberger, right? Like, they're not going to get five-star kids at Iowa State. Not many of them anyway. They got one in Omaha, Bill U, and he didn't stick around. They have to win with their scheme. They have to win with the way that they play. Tony Bennett got dudes. Tony Bennett got guys to the league, and he still insisted on having his teams play like that. And I hated it. They were unwatchable. So, in that regard, Tony Bennett will not be missed. I cannot tell you how much I hated watching Virginia basketball. I hated watching Virginia basketball more than I hated watching Wisconsin basketball under Bo Ryan. And let me be clear, I hated watching Wisconsin basketball under Bo Ryan. Utterly hated it. I'm still mad at them for ruining what should have been a Kentucky-Duke national championship game in 2015. We should have gotten Kentucky-Duke that year. Wisconsin had to ruin it. Frank Kaminsky. I still don't like Frank Kaminsky to this day. Text from the 785 and the Todd City Metal Supply text line. You can hit us up as well. 785-272-9429. NIL is a disaster for college sports, but I agree with you, Dan. His timing was awful, and he did his team a disservice. Yeah, I think you can think both things. And I don't necessarily agree that NIL is a disaster. I think it's good for the players. I think the enforcement of it has had some problems, but things that are good for the players are largely, broadly good. We can agree to disagree, I think, on what NIL has done. But, yeah, I think you can think both things. You can think, yes, the job is a different job than the one that Tony Bennett signed up for. That's bad. The stresses on a major college basketball coach are different now. That's unfortunate. That makes the job less desirable. You still don't have to quit on October 17th. And that's really difficult for me to get past. Anyhow, one other headline I want to get to today. A grown adult is throwing a tantrum, not me. That was not a tantrum. I just didn't like Virginia basketball. That was not me. I'm beating the tantrum allegations. No, a grown man is throwing a tantrum because his favorite football team won't put him on the Jumbotron often enough. Fireman Ed Anzalone, New York Jets superfan, says Tuesday night on social media, the Jets are limiting his screen time on the video boards at MetLife Stadium during home games. I don't know exactly what's going on, but they're phasing us out, he said in a video on his Instagram account. I'd like to know if somebody knows anything. Please let me know because it's evident that it's happening and it needs to stop because we need home field advantage.
What? Come on. Why? Who cares about you?
There is no bigger dork on planet Earth than Fireman Ed. Like, honest to goodness, like, just because you wear a costume to your favorite team's football game and people know you in your section and you've gotten on the Jumbotron a couple of times and you get the team, you get your fans fired up in your section, you are not bigger than the team.
A couple of times. No, it seems like it was multiple occurrences during the game, during each given game, Dan. Come on.
Yeah, they're not putting him on the screen after touchdowns. Yeah, God forbid.
You know, they're not scoring enough touchdowns.
Yeah, don't put Garrett Wilson or Devontae Adams or Breece Hall up there or Aaron Rodgers. Don't put those guys in the Jumbotron. Put the fireman guy on the Jumbotron. Put the guy with the fireman's hat on the Jumbotron.
Do you think the Jets reverse course here and add him more?
Probably. It would
just
be,
for the PR.
It would be very
part of it.
It would be very Jets for them to give in to public pressure from Fireman Ed. Just to look. If that's your get down, if you like to wear costumes and paint your face and assume a new persona for your favorite team when you go to a game, like, God love you. Just know that, like, that's who you're adjacent to. That's who people are going to associate you with. People are going to think, oh, so you wear a costume to your favorite team's games? Oh, so you're like Fireman Ed. Or worse, oh, so you're like that Chiefs-aholic guy. Is that company you want to keep? Is that company you want to keep?
I would say no.
I would ask that question to anyone who does the costumes or has a nickname. Like the Chiefs have a whole bunch of them, and like none of them have like particularly great reputations. Like the X Factor, there was Chiefs-aholic, obviously that wasn't great. Yeah, man, like. I don't think you need to be that person.
I will say the old Washingtons had a guy that would dress up like that. He was actually of Indian descent or American Indian descent. And he, the one thing Dan Snyder ever did good in his life, this guy had money to go to games and that was about it. Dan Snyder paid for his funeral when he passed away tragically.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
The only good thing Dan Snyder ever did.
The one good deed. We'll take a break. We got Mitch Holthus coming up. The voice of the Chiefs joins us next on 580 Sports Talk. 527 on 580 Sports Talk. We are looking forward to being joined here momentarily by Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. Joins us every Thursday on this show, a courtesy of Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Contact Crystal Rippey, Kirsten McCall, or Kristen Ambergy about the credit union advantage in getting your first or next home loan. We are out to Mitch Holthus and expect that he will join us here shortly. We'll keep trying him. Talk to Mitch about Chiefs 49ers heading out to Santa Clara. Our Mitch and the rest of the Chiefs Radio Network crew and the Chiefs themselves for a Super Bowl 58 rematch, a 3:25 kickoff on Sunday. Pre-game coverage starting at 2 o'clock on the Chiefs Radio Network. You can hear it right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. I just saw this while we're thinking about the Chiefs. I just saw this float around on my timeline. It was a graph about defensive tackles, interior pass rushers, and their expected grades, their expected PFF grades, and their grade over expectation. Essentially, how difficult has their assignment been, given the caliber of team, the level of double teams, amount of double teams that they face, and then how good they've actually been at rushing the passer. You know, we've talked about Patrick Mahomes typically breaking the scale on quarterback graphs. So far up and to the right on those graphs that he almost breaks the scale. Chris Jones is breaking the scale as an interior pass rusher this year. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit, but first, we are joined now by Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. He joins us every Thursday here on 580 Sports Talk. And Mitch, first question, how did you enjoy your bye week?
It was awesome. I'm telling you, people ask me, is this too early for the bye for the team? And I said, no, not for a team that has played 46 games in 2.25 years. That's an NFL record. And so I enjoyed it as much as our guys did, which is a chance to get away, and as much mental and emotional as it is physical. So, yeah, it was awesome.
All right, let's go full steam ahead.
And I got to see a glorious victory for the Smith Center Redmen over the Johnson-Stanton County Trojans.
Oh, that's right.
So,
they were playing. Gosh, that is wild. Knowing the geography of Kansas, that is wild that those two teams are in the same district.
In the same district. And in 2 weeks, Smith Center has to go to Syracuse, which is 290 miles away.
Yeah, it's even further.
Two teams are in their district that are 290 miles away.
Yeah,
I told that to Andy Reid. He just shook his head and walked off.
Yeah, I spent a couple of years out in Colby, out there in Northwest Kansas. So,
no, you know how it is.
Yeah, it's no short drives. Colby to Goodland, and that's about it as far as short drives go. When you get out west there, some of the you go up in class there in Kansas high school football. Let's go full steam ahead into looking ahead to Sunday. Chiefs 49ers Super Bowl 58 rematch. We talked about this a little bit earlier this week on the show. How does this current 49ers team, as currently constructed, compare to the 49ers team we saw in Super Bowl 58? Obviously, the big difference, no Christian McCaffrey. But outside of that, how different, for better or for worse, are these 49ers than the ones the Chiefs beat in Vegas?
Which one of the three phases do you want to jump into? Because the answer is different for all three.
We'll start with the offense. Because, again, obviously, the bold-faced headline is they don't have McCaffrey.
They don't have McCaffrey, but in many ways, they're better. Let me just give you nuggets, right? They're the best team right now in the NFL, scoring 162 points total. They're the best team in big plays in the league. They have 31 20-plus plays and 8 20-plus runs. That's the big one. Hang on to that because of Jordan Mason. Now, where they falter a bit is in the red zone. If this sounds familiar, they're much like the Chiefs. So they've been able to move the ball, and Purdy's been good for the most part, but they get to the red zone and they stall. They're 24th in the league. The Chiefs are 29th. But offensively, I would tell you from the team we played in February, in some ways they're better because they have all of the receivers up and running. Jennings had a 175-yard game. Deebo Samuel, of course, we know what he can do. He could be a hundo guy. And then you look, Ayuk had 145 yards in a game. So they just have weapons. And I even mentioned Kittle. And then Jordan Mason is kind of the key dude here as the running back. They don't have CMC, but it doesn't matter offensively. Now you want to go to the next phase?
Yeah, let's go to defense because they still have star performers in all three levels in Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and Charvarius Ward.
Way off the mark. Way off the mark. They lost 8 dudes to free agency. They have 4 more on IR. You talk about CMC. What's overlooked is the guys they're missing on defense on injured reserve. The biggest one, of course, is the safety Fonga, who's out. He's on IR. Didn't play in the Super Bowl against us, but Ambry Thomas is out. Javon Hargrave is out. Gross Matos is out. Curtis Robinson, linebacker, is out. They're just not the same team on defense. Let me give you some numbers there. 26th in the league in offensive points allowed. Keep in mind, these guys blew a 2-touchdown lead and lost to the Rams, who aren't really very good right now. They blew a 13-point lead at home to the Cardinals. And I'm just telling you, defensively, the red zone defense is 20th. They're 22nd on third down. They fired their defensive coordinator. Remember Steve Wilkes right after our Super Bowl game in Super Bowl 58? Last year, they were third in scoring defense. This year, in the bottom third. And when they blitz, they don't blitz a lot, but when they do, the quarterback rating is 139.7 against them. Only Washington's worse. So defense, I would tell you, offensively, in some ways, they're better, actually. They could use CMC, but they're right there numbers-wise. Defensively, they're way off. And when I watch them on video, they're just missing some fiery pieces. And then the third phase, we can't overlook special teams. They're all over the map. Now, part of the reason they've blown these leads, they had a block punt against Minnesota. They gave up a 97-yard kickoff return against Seattle. They still won that game, but a long punt return by the Rams led to their turnaround. And San Francisco lost a game they should have won. So they're 3-3 with 2 games. They easily could be 5-1. But their special teams have been a mess. And to me, that's a testimony to the bottom end of their roster. They're trying to figure stuff out, and their offense is trying to carry them right now. But if you take them off their schedule, I said my comparison this week has been like a snare drummer in the percussion session and back row of the band. They have to be beat, stay on schedule. If you pull them off the grid at all, they really struggle. And now this year they don't have the defense that they had last year to pull them out if they did go off the grid offensively.
Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk, again, a courtesy of Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. You mentioned staying on schedule. The Chiefs have been really good at that through their first 5 games this season. What, in your mind, has been the biggest key to the efficiency of this offense?
It has been this discovery of dudes that weren't even with us in St. Joseph. Now, the consistency of the offensive line and the interior 3, don't overlook that. Now, the tackles have struggled. We know with Juwan Taylor and with Wanye Morris, but those interior 3 are playing at the highest level they've played at together, meaning Joe Tooney left guard, Creed Humphrey at center, and Trey Smith at right guard. But it's also these dudes that did not spend a second with us in St. Joseph. To get Samaje Perine, to get this reborn Kareem Hunt, and to get Juju Smith-Schuster to do what he has done has been a godsend to us offensively. And then if you can fill in with some other guys, hopefully, contributing, then you're right there. I mean, what Xavier Worthy's been able to do. But it's just a factor. There's some things that have stayed on the baseline, that offensive line, and obviously with Mahomes, who's struggling in some categories, obviously. But these guys that came out of nowhere to help us has been fantastic. But then we're just the opposite of San Francisco. Our defense is probably better than it was in Super Bowl 58.
I want to double back to Kareem Hunt in particular, because I bet he really enjoyed the bye week, because he went from a street free agent to the active roster to 27 carries on Monday Night Football. I bet he really enjoyed having the extra week off. But a chance to speak with him earlier and get into some of the benefits for him and for the team of having him back on in the fold.
He is the happiest guy on the planet right now, because very rare in the NFL do you get a second chance. All of us at some point have asked for second chances. We've all asked for forgiveness in one way or the other. Kareem Hunt gets a second chance. I asked him what it was like to be back and why he's been able to assimilate so quickly into this offense.
First of all, it's great being back. It's so familiar, the people and, brotherhood here. And then second of all, I just think coming here my rookie year and just being, it got engraved in my head, everything that I pretty much took from here. I took it to Cleveland with me, and I never let none of the things change my ways of being a football player, because how they do things here is different than other places. And honestly, I know what they expect out of me and what they want done. So I already know these things.
He's just tickled, and I mean, we're happy to have him. He's looking like 2017-18 Kareem Hunt. 27 carries last week, and he's got the body of a heavyweight and the feet of a featherweight. It's I don't know what we'd be doing without him right now.
Mitch, last question I have for you regards the matchup itself. It's a Super Bowl 58 rematch. It's another big game, and the Chiefs have been in a lot of those. Their first two games at home, obviously, those were marquee games against Baltimore and Cincinnati. It was a big game to go to Atlanta on Sunday Night Football. Monday Night Football was a big game. So they have been accustomed to getting up for big games this season and have gotten up for big games against the 49ers before, played really well against them in recent memory. What do you see about this matchup that maybe benefits the Chiefs in a way that has benefited them when they've seen each other in a Super Bowl or in the regular season the last time? Even though the teams are different than they were in 2022, the Chiefs have had the 49ers number. Why do you think that has been the case, and can they continue that on Sunday?
Go back to my snare drum analogy. The Chiefs defense is built to tear up your snare drum. You want to stay on schedule. Pop, 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 pop. This defense, and we've seen it happen, they'll blitz you. You have a defensive front that has 8 guys rotating, staying fresh. The linebacker core will light you up that can contain these running backs. No team in the league has had a running back rush for, get this one now, no running back has rushed for 50-plus yards, and no wide receivers had 90-plus receiving yards. That's just stupid when you think about who we've played. All right, so you take the snare drum and you bash it over their head, and you crash a cymbal, and now they're offline. That's what we've been able to do to them. We did it in Super Bowl 54. We did it in Super Bowl 58. We got them off the mark and off their beat, and they struggle they just don't deal with that very well as a 49er team. And so we just have a habit of doing that. I'm not saying it with hubris here. I'm just saying you asked me how we've been able to beat these guys 4 straight years, and it's almost followed the same script all 4 times. Now, you want some nuggets?
Oh, yes.
3 of them. This is the 10th time there's been a regular season. You want the good news or bad news?
I'll bad news first, and then give me the good.
The bad news is that this is the 10th time that there has been a regular season rematch of the previous team's Super Bowls in NFL history, and the defending champion is 6-3. I'm giving you the good news first.
All right.
All right. The defending champion is 6-3. 2 of the 3 losses have been the Chiefs. 1970 against Minnesota, and last year against Philadelphia. Remember, they beat us on that Monday night game.
Yeah.
And that was MBS drop and everything in sight. So anyway, hopefully we'll have a chance this year. But anyway, there's your first nugget. The second nugget is there's only been 3 teams that have lost Super Bowls and come back to win a Super Bowl the next year. 71 Cowboys, 72 Dolphins, so back in prehistoric times, and then the 18 Pats. They lost to the Eagles in the Philly Special. They came back and beat us in the divisional round to go on to win in 18.
That's really rare, especially in the modern era. I mean, more teams, the expansion era. It gets even more rare for teams to make it
17th
back.
Game. You're playing a 17th game against another number 1 team. That's what we've had to encounter. That's what I'm telling you. The bye week last week was great. We got these pits. My Minute with Mitch this week on Channel 13 was pulling off of these little pit stops that we have, little spots in the schedule. And you get, sometimes it's a 2-tire change, sometimes it's gas, sometimes it's a 4-tire change. But to get these little breaks throughout the season could be huge.
Mitch Holthus is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. He'll have the call on the Chiefs radio network on Sunday as the Chiefs take on the San Francisco 49ers at Levi's Stadium. Mitch, safe travels to California, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
That is Mitch Holthus. We will step aside for a break, come back with more, including a playoff roundup on 580 Sports Talk. 5:45 on 580 Sports Talk. Just a little bit longer on the show today. Then we'll have a little 580 Sports Talk overtime for you. We'll run back our conversation with Paul Myerberg, take you up to Thursday night football from Westwood One. The Saints and the Broncos from the Superdome tonight. More on that in a bit, but as we are looking ahead to what's on tap, we should probably start with what's happening right now, right? Which means we should probably start with a playoff roundup, right? Right, Spencer? It's coming.
It's time for the 580 Sports Talk Playoff Roundup.
They are in action in the bottom of the fifth inning in the American League Championship Series. Game 3 right now. It's Cleveland on top of the Yankees 2-1, and a runner in scoring position with 2 out in the bottom of the fifth. Josh Naylor batting against Yankee reliever and Royal great Tim Hill. And the Guardians trying to extend their lead and trying to make this a series after falling behind 2-0, losing the first 2 games at Yankee Stadium. Kyle Manzardo with a 2-run homer for the Guardians. That has provided the difference. You want to hear a fun fact about Kyle Manzardo's home run in this game, Spencer?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Naylor has flied out to left, so the threat goes begging in the fifth for the Guardians, but they maintain a 2-1 lead. Kyle Manzardo was born in Idaho, and his home run in this game makes him the first native-born Idahoan to hit a home run in a Major League Baseball postseason game since Hall of Famer Harmon Killebrew.
Wow.
You got to go way back for that, obviously. Harmon Killebrew, Royal great, by the way. Final year in the bigs for the 500 home run hitter and Hall of Famer he spent with the Royals. And I use that knowledge frequently on the Immaculate Grid. In fact, the other day, Royals and Hall of Famer was a square, and I went with Harmon Killebrew, like 2%. It was a good one. Anyhow, Guardians 2, Yankees 1. That is game 3 of the ALCS. Tonight, game 4 of the NLCS. The Dodgers pummeling the Mets last night, 8-0. 4 of the last 5 games for the Dodgers have been shutouts. Ever since they gave up, 6 home runs in game 3 of the division series to the Padres, their pitching staff has been unbelievable. Also, Shohei Ohtani homered. Ohtani now, I don't know, I forget if he had one more at bat last night or not, but the number after he homered in last night's game, and he hit that ball, I think that was a legitimate danger to the air traffic around LaGuardia Airport. Ohtani, after that at bat, he was 0 for 22 with the bases empty in his last 22 at bats with nobody on base, 7 for 9 with runners on base. He's just been an assassin anytime there's anybody on base in front of him. So Ohtani homered. The Dodgers rolled 8-0 last night. Game 4 of the series is tonight at Citi Field. Yankees go to Jose Quintana, the left-hander. Dodgers turn to right-hander Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Notably, no Freddie Freeman in the lineup tonight for the Dodgers. If you've been watching the series, he's had an ankle injury since the end of the regular season. He can barely run. And with a left-hander on the mound for the Mets, the Dodgers are going to give him, at least to start the night off, they'll play Max Muncy at first base, Kike Hernandez, playoff Kike at third base. And I would imagine they'll fire the Freeman bullet against a right-handed reliever late in the game if they need to. Kike Hernandez, you want another fun stat?
Give it to me.
Kike Hernandez has as many postseason home runs as Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
15 career postseason home runs.
Wow.
For Kike Hernandez. His career high in a season is 21. He hit 21 in 462 plate appearances back in 2018 with the Dodgers.
Wild.
He has 15 postseason home runs in half as many plate appearances. It's incredible.
Insane.
Like, we talk about guys who are playoff performers or not playoff performers. And look, like Aaron Judge homered in game 2 of the Yankee series. We mentioned it while they were playing the Royals. Like, his playoff track record had not been real good, but like his overall track record suggested eventually he'd do something in the postseason. Like, Kike Hernandez's postseason track record is unbelievable. You wonder why he's not a better player in the regular season. He's a lifetime .238 hitter who in the playoffs hits 280. Go freaking figure. Anyway, game 4 of the division series, the National League Championship Series tonight, 7:08, the first pitch. NFL game tonight, Broncos Saints. Broncos are 2.5-point road favorites. Who you like tonight, Spencer?
I don't know. This is like garbage game of the week.
Yeah, this is the dumpster juice NFL game of the week.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
I think the Saints cover. I like the Saints plus. I liked them better at +3 earlier in the week. Should have bet it then, but I like them at +2.5. Georgia State Marshall in college football. Your Herd 9.5-point favorites. Are they going to bounce back?
I don't know, because Stone freaking Earl is officially taking first team reps and warm-ups. So I don't know. There's nobody there because the fan base gave up after Saturday night's collapse. I don't know. I'll take the Herd in the points.
I knew you would. Boston College, Virginia Tech also tonight. That's a 6:30 kickoff. Virginia Tech an 8-point favorite. I think BC could cover that potentially, but it's a night game at Lane Stadium.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Night games at Lane Stadium are pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Like that's one like that doesn't maybe come up very often when people talk about like bucket list college football venues. But I would love to be in a full Lane Stadium at night when Enter Sandman plays and the Hokies come out. Like that's got to be a top 5, top 10 entrance in all of college football right now.
I have instant regret. Regret that I still regret. I had the chance to go to a night game years ago and I turned it down.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Maybe the chance will come back around again. Who knows?
Who knows?
We'll take one final break here on 580 Sports Talk and come back with the final word. Time to wrap it up with a final word on this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Dupuis, what you got?
Hey, yeah, we hit on part of my final word in the last segment about Marshall. I'm just lucky I may not be awake to see it tonight because I'm beat.
You've been working the morning shift.
Yes, 3 days this week.
The early shift over on the Kansas Ag Network.
Yes, and it's definitely thrown off my whole life.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, get a good night's sleep tonight. Sleep. I wish you as good a night of sleep as my son got last night, and I hope you have an easier time getting to sleep than my son had last night, because that was tricky for
I
my
almost
wife
didn't. I mean, I hope Greg's not listening in the other studio, but
he is.
I almost did not wake up in time today because I literally fell asleep with my phone next to the charger, and luckily I woke up at 3:30 in the morning.
Hey, almost doesn't count, right?
Yeah.
You're just fine. Final word for me. Let's make Patrick Mahomes fun again. Matt Nagy, Andy Reid, I'm begging you, make Patrick Mahomes fun again. Patrick Mahomes' air yards per completion are not just the lowest in the NFL this year. They would be the lowest in the NFL since 2016. And when you've got a super weapon at quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, it's just not acceptable. I'm tired of the excuses as to why this Chiefs offense can't be more explosive. I like that it's efficient, but why can't you have both? Why can't you be efficient and explosive? Why can't we see more downfield stuff from Patrick Mahomes? Maybe this is the wrong week to ask for it. If Juju Smith-Schuster is unable to go now that he's on the injury report, limited this today with a hamstring injury, but I just would like to see more downfield stuff from the best quarterback in the NFL. I think he's capable of it, and I don't think there need to be training wheels. I don't think you need to coach scared of your quarterback when your quarterback is this good. I just want to see Patrick Mahomes be fun and the Chiefs be fun again. That'll do it for us. We got a little overtime until 6:30. We're back tomorrow from 3 to 6 to preview Chiefs 49ers. Matt Derrick will join us. We'll also preview K-State and KU and have our Bet Prairie Band Sportsbook picks. For Spencer and Brendan, I'm Dan. See ya.